G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the Mastered Evolution Challenge for the Fighting Legend Vegeta event. So basically, as with all our other category challenges, we'll talk through the team build and then we will discuss a little bit about the challenges that one faces when you are taking on the legendary Vegeta event. So in terms of team build, we've gone for a pretty interesting team build. I wouldn't say it's the most miraculously diverse, but I think it's pretty cool to try and utilize different leads. So we're going for a Power Beyond Super Saiyan team build, essentially led by our Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta. He is the Easy Aid version of the AGL Pure Saiyan's lead, and he's pretty strong. Obviously he's 170% lead across the board. He's great in a second slot. He builds his defense really well, and he can be really strong. If he does evolve with that 40% chance to turn into the evolved Vegeta, then you obviously get a lot of good strength out of him as well offensively. So that's our lead. Now if we discuss our team, we have a pretty interesting team build overall. So we have the two God units, so we have the Tech Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and we have the physical Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Both of these units' performance can vary quite significantly. It depends honestly on how good their orb changing is. If the orbs change really well, then they're going to look great the whole way through. If they don't change very well, then they're not going to look that great the whole way through. It's very dependent on how many orbs you pick up with them. They do stack attack and defense, but the rate at which they'll stack won't be able to make them automatically tanky the whole way through. You're going to need to get some really, I would say decent, not super lucky, but you know, I've tried this run I think twice with the same team build, and every time I've been unable to get the appropriate orbs, I have struggled because of the fact that without the right amount of orbs, you can kind of be thrown off the loop. Then we have the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the Otherworld Warriors lead one, and we have the Tech Martian Vegeta. We're not going to be relying on either of them at all. They're just going to be floating. Obviously with Vegeta, it's important to try and get as many orbs as possible so we can activate that guard ability. And with Goku, it's important to get orbs because we need to activate his evasion abilities. You only need 3 orbs to get Goku's evasion ability, which is pretty good. But you do need 6 orbs to get Vegeta's guard ability. So it is important that we do try and prioritize orbs if possible for Vegeta. That is where the orb changes come in handy. Once you start to get a good system of orb changing happening, you can generally tend to get some nice trails for other characters as well. So we should be more than fine. We will rely, this team build does rely a little bit on that falling of the orbs, which is sometimes to a detriment and sometimes works perfectly fine every single time. And then as a friend lead, obviously because I don't have them, we are taking the Power Beyond Super Saiyan and Movie Heroes lead in the form of the Super Saiyan God Goku and the Super Saiyan God Vegeta. So they're a great ally. They do a lot of great work. Prioritize stacking them as much as you can before obviously the final phase. The reason why they're so great in the Fighting Legend Vegeta event is because, well, they really do help out in the final phase. The final phase is AGL. You're taking an LR that can hit 3, 6, 7 and 8 million super attacks, so it's generally considered a pretty good idea to bring them. Not to mention the crit chance, the evasion, everything that they do bring beyond that is also fantastic, and stacking them is pretty easy. You don't need to do anything too crazy to stack them well enough to get them to this point. You just basically need to make sure that they hit a super attack on every rotation, and then you won't have too many issues. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the team build. Obviously in terms of the strategy, like I've mentioned, your main focus is to make sure that you get orbs for the 2 God units so that their defense is at least up to the bare minimum. You then want to keep them on rotation as much as possible, because you do want them to stack as best they can. Like I said, they're not going to ever be able really to stack to the point where they are like super invulnerable, but as long as you keep getting them a couple stacks, then your reliance on the orbs does dissipate a little bit. And when I say that, you can rely on getting 4 or 5 orbs consistently, rather than, you know, getting 8 or 9 orbs, basically, is the premise. Then with Majin Vegeta and with Goku, you generally just want to make sure that they don't get hit by a super attack. If you can achieve that, if you can get Vegeta his guard, that's good. If you can get Goku his evasion, that's good. But in general, like, if you can avoid them taking huge damage at any given point in time, you've basically achieved your goal. So yeah, may sound a little bit lackluster, but in reality it's really not. Like, in reality it's pretty decent. They do more than fine. Both of my Vegeta is pretty stacked. I think I have 2 dupes in Vegeta, and of course Goku I have 1 dupe in now, so that is something important to take note of. I have dupes in pretty much all the units in this team, the God Vegeta and the God Goku. Vegeta has 2 dupes, Goku has 1 dupe. Before I did get very close with 55% Goku, but I think the dupes really do help the orb changes a lot, especially that extra defense that you get from the first dupe. Yeah, and then obviously, as you guys have noticed, I haven't mentioned them, but we do have Transforming Goku. Transforming Goku is great. If you can get super attacks with them, try and get them, because they do help him out in stacking that defense. But with his natural greatly stacking in his final form and his damage reduction that he has overall, he should be more than fine for like the majority of the event. So not really too concerned about him, but yeah, just obviously to give him a brief mention there, his role is mainly as a floating unit. That is generally where we see the best performance by him, at least in this specific team for this specific challenge. Now obviously, just in terms of the Legendary Vegeta event, yeah, or the Fighting Legend Vegeta event, whichever way you want to call it, for the most part there's no point bringing too much utility. From the very beginning, he's immune to stunning, immune to sealing, very rapidly immune to attack lowering, immune to defense lowering, so you really just kind of have an issue right off the bat. The thing you do need to be aware of is that from the tech phase and the strength phase, Vegeta will lower your defense when he fires his super attack, so you do need to be aware of that. Whatever unit you put in the way or whatever unit gets hit by the super attack is going to have massively lowered defense afterwards, so try and avoid it being Goku or Majin Vegeta. They have very flatline defenses, and Goku relies a lot on his evasion, and Vegeta obviously relies a lot on his guard, so try and not have them get hit by it. It would be advisable, but you should get through this phase pretty quickly, especially if you are using the blue Super Saiyan evolved Vegeta. He'll just do huge damage and basically get Goku out the way. Just a heads up, obviously if you don't have the Easy Aid blue Super Saiyan evolved Vegeta, but you do have the LR Tech God Goku, you can like switch the leads, but your big issue is going to be that unfortunately yeah, it's not really going to help you in terms of like completing the event. Like, you're not gonna then obviously have control. Like, rather take a Rainbow Super Saiyan God Goku and Super Saiyan God Vegeta than take a Rainbow Blue Evolution Evolved Vegeta. Blue Evolution Evolved Vegeta is very, very good, especially at a rainbow level, but I still think the gods will definitely impact more. If you've got both, if you want to just run the gods leads, so you want to run double gods, then I would suggest dropping out one of the physical Goku or the tech Vegeta and replacing them with the god units. That'll be more than fine as well if you want to keep team synergy. And then you can put physical, so you can put AGL Evolution Blue Vegeta in over those units and run the double god leads. There's quite a lot of good changes that you can make to the team, and everything will be pretty much more than fine. In terms of other eligible categories of characters for this, especially if you're running the Gods units as your lead. You can take units like the Super Saiyan Gohan, he's great. The Strength Super Vegeta, he's alright, but his defense is really bad before he takes his first hit. But he's a decent floater. He'll do decent damage as a floater. He'll only really take damage on the first initial hit, and then he'll be more than fine. So that is okay. Like, that is definitely more than okay. Then we have the single-minded offensive Super Saiyan Vegeta, the one that came with the Cell and the Gohan. You can definitely utilize that Vegeta for sure. He's pretty strong, obviously based depending on how many attacks he's done, but he can get really powerful. He can get super strong, so you can definitely use him if you want to. I don't see any real issue in running this Vegeta. I think he's great as a unit, and honestly I think he'll do a lot. Just in general, I think he'll do like a lot for your team, and he's AGL type. He's got decent link set with other Vegeta units, so I don't really see an issue in running him, but it is just gonna depend on you guys and what you feel like running or what you have available in your box. But if you do have him, he's actually a really strong pick for the category, so feel free to run him if you want to. I don't see any real issue in doing so, and I think you'll get a lot out of him. Other than that, I think the only other real noticeable units that I would say you could take, the super physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku, the one that turns into SS3, obviously a pretty solid pick. Will do a lot of decent damage, be really strong overall, huge damage, so that's definitely there, and he's very solid defensively in that second slot scenario. And then you have obviously the Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta Angel, which is also a pretty decent pick overall, and another unit that's pretty solid in that second slot scenario. So when you take on the physical phase of Vegeta, which is the second to last, I actually think you can transform the Super Saiyan God Boys. I think it's more than fine in this situation, just to start getting some extra damage early on. And I think at this point their defense will be stacked enough that as soon as they fire a super attack, they're going to be fine. And you won't die if they get hit before. So obviously I just skipped the physical phase because, video length is very important. And we skipped a bit of the final phase here. But as you can see, everything's going more than fine. We've kept the same team strategy and build. At this point, Vegeta will obviously now be guarding, which is great. So you can still get him orbs. It does help him defensively because of those additional boosts that he gets. But at this point, you'll be a lot better in this situation because you now have obviously the type advantage for Vegeta. Just be very careful of the Super Saiyan 3 Goku in the physical phase. Don't be scared to pop some of your items in the physical phase to protect Goku. That's what I did because I knew we had the type advantage in this final phase. You've got the gods who are going to do a lot of damage in this phase. You've got Tech Vegeta as well. You've got this Tech Martian Vegeta as well. So you've already got 3 tech units. So you don't need to be too concerned about this phase, defensively speaking. As you can see, Vegeta doing more than fine tanking. Yes, he did take some damage, but it's not really a huge problem. Yeah, just basically pretty solid. We're obviously going to use the active skill, take out Vegeta pretty much, and that'll be the victory. So overall it was actually pretty smooth. I do think having the god units as the lead really helped out. That additional stats for some of the units, like the physical Goku, I think is really good. Obviously helps him out, and I think the god units against Vegeta, especially in the Fighting Legend Vegeta challenges, the god units are almost a very strong solo carry because of the way that they work offensively. Once you transform them, they're going to be exceptionally good, and they carry a natural advantage defensively in the final phase. So whereas like some other units you would have to stack a bit more because they'll be at like 350k defense but have that tech type advantage, you can kind of leave them at that phase, get the blue boy form out a lot earlier, and really just kind of take the victory, which I think is is something very strong for them in this particular long form event, comparatively to like Fighting Legend Goku GT, where it's a tech enemy in the final phase. But that's it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and bye.